Hi everybody, welcome to, another video. So today we're having a little look, or a closer look should I say, at the Porphis MPH338. Now this gun's available in a 0.8 and a 1.0. We're using it today in a 1.0. They also originally listed a 0.5, but I understand that's a special order, and that's not a special order for someone like you or me. It's a special order if a company wants to, buy 1,000 of these guns in a smaller size. So I think one day maybe there will be a 0.5 comes along, but I actually got the 0.8 chipset and I bought the gun in 1.0. I paid about 124 US dollars. At the time, I think it was supposed to be a special price, an introduction price for the gun, but I think last time I looked, it was still at that price. So maybe they're holding that a bit longer, or maybe that's the price it's going to stay at anyway. But converting that at the moment, the pound's a bit stronger than it has been recently. I'm in the UK. It's about 95 GB pounds. Now that is inexpensive, relatively inexpensive. I'll put a link in the description. I did an unboxing of this gun and we compared it physically, size-wise, to a few other smaller guns, but it's quite physically small. So it's along the lines of an LPH50 stroke LPH80. That type of size, so more what I would call a micro minigun. When I first ordered it, I wasn't sure what it was going to, size-wise, what it was going to be like. I'd seen pictures of it. I know what it looked like, but until you've got it in your hand, you don't really know what it is like size-wise. So it was a little bit smaller than I was expecting, although I should have guessed, I suppose, seeing that it's a 0.8 or a 1.0, they're not going to be that big. Same size as the Meiji F55, which I've actually been using today before I narrated this video. So there's quite a few competitors out there in this smaller class. Having said that, this is actually relatively cheap compared to most of them. It seems very, very well made. There's definitely a striking resemblance to the Astro minigun. Porphis tell me that they've concentrated on trying to increase the quality of the components, so the seals and things like that. So I expect this thing to last. When I first got Porphis guns, which now was over a year and a half ago, I think, I got my PRD717. I think it was the first gun I'd got from them. Well, I bought 3 at the same time, to be honest, but I was a little bit apprehensive when I saw the build quality. I thought, no, the build quality is actually excellent. Longevity you don't know about, but I feel quite confident these days recommending them to people, because I've had absolutely no problems with any of mine whatsoever. And I've got quite a few different Porphis guns. Yes, I don't use them all the time because I've got so many I'm spraying virtually every day, but I've got so many to choose from these days that, I don't use a gun over and over again, but I still give it a reasonable amount of use. And I know people that have got them and use them quite heavily or heavier than me, and they've had absolutely no problems with them at all. So I recommend them these days because I'm quite confident that they will last. But that sort of price range, you wouldn't expect loads for your money, really. An LPH50 or an LPH80 in the UK, depending where you get it from, is anywhere between 180 and 250 pound, 50 GB pounds, which is about, what's that, about 250 to 300 US dollars. So they're quite a bit more money than something like this. The reason I keep mentioning the LPH80 and I mention the F55 Meiji is because this gun is actually in that sort of field. Performance wise, it's very, very good. Probably not quite as good as the LPH80, but when you're talking about something that's less than half the price, it's difficult to compare it to it, but it's very much in the vein of the LPH80. And certainly I would be happy with this If it was a bit more expensive than it actually is, I would be perfectly happy to get this and use this because it performs very well. The atomization is very fine. The clear coat we're using here, you'll see me using a microwave. Please don't use a microwave. It's something I do, and I've done it for a few years now. I used to use hot water to put my clear coat in, but microwave is much quicker. But I'm sure it can't be the thing to do. I'm sure it must be dangerous in some way. So I will say don't do it, although I do it, and I find about 10 seconds per mixed 100 millilitres is absolutely fine to just warm it up. And the benefits of that, again, I'll try and remember to put a link in the description. I did a video that effectively is a cold clear coat and just warming the clear coat up. And we put it through a Ford 4 cup just to see the viscosity change. And I think you'll be amazed at how much just warming the clear coat up. Nothing else, no reducer, thinners, nothing like that. Just warming it up, how much it makes it more flowable. It just makes it thinner. So the viscosity changes and it just makes it flow out that much better. I don't know whether flowable is a word, but you know what I mean. It just makes it flow out better. So that's the reason I do it. People often ask why I do it. And, you know, even after I've explained it, they'll still say, what's the microwave for? But that's what it's for. It's to actually make the clear coat flow out better. So I'll put a link in the description and you can see a bit more of that. Back to the Porphis gun anyway. We're just running some 2K thinners through it. I always do that before I use the gun, and that just allows any impurities that are in there from the cleaning thinners, because the cleaning thinners is effectively recycled thinners, which is why it's cheaper to buy. It can leave little bits of residue from where it's been recycled, and not every impurity is being removed. So I just put a 2K, which is a virgin thinners, through it, just to remove anything that may be there, and it just helps give you a better finish. So the clear coat we're using, as I was started to say before I got sidetracked, the clear coat we're using here today is a Upol clear coat. It's a 2081, which is similar to the 2080. It doesn't flow particularly well. I have added some thinners or reducer to it, about 10%, and that helps it flow out better. But there's no doubt about this, that I'm just checking the camera is the right angle. There's no doubt about it that with a gun like this, because the atomization is quite fine, and the same goes for the LPH 80 stroke LPH 50, the F55 Meiji, the Iwata W300 WBs, all the guns that put out finely atomized particles benefit from a better clear coat, just because it actually flows out better. With something like the Upol, you really need to get quite a lot of material on before it will flow out, even if it's warmed up, before it will flow out. Whereas with a better quality clear coat, you can put smaller little particles on and they run out into each other much better, so you get a better job. So it really is worth spending more money on the clear coat if you possibly can. If you're a guy at home, try and spend some more money on the clear coat, because it does give a lot of benefits, particularly with guns like these that aren't putting out loads of materials. It's only a 1.0, and it's not a particularly feisty 1.0. It's much more of a precision gun, hence comparing it to the smaller Iwatas. But in that company, it can hold its own quite easily. I was very impressed with the gun. I've been using it. I ended up, for clear coat, I ended up at 1.5 bar, which is about 23, 24 PSI. No, it's a bit less than that actually, isn't it? About 22 PSI, something like that. And I've been using it about 1.2 bar, which is about 18 PSI for base coat. Works perfectly well at that. But what it does do is it allows you to go up to about 2 bar, depending on the viscosity of the material. And again, I'll put a link in the description, because the viscosity of the material will have an effect on what you can get away with pressure wise with the fan, so that the fan doesn't split, you know, being top or bottom heavy, etc. So with this, I found you can easily go up to 2 bar with a high solids clear, which is what we're using here, and it doesn't, the fan doesn't split or anything. So you can use a higher pressure if you want even finer results. You can use a higher pressure. You will use more air, and again, this didn't use a lot of air. I reckon about at 1.5 bar, I reckon it's probably about 3.8 to 4 CFM. So not particularly high, and as I say, 1.5 bar gives you the results that we're seeing here. Initially off the gun, all the results you see here will be off the gun. Obviously, when it first comes out the gun, you need to wait a little while for the clear coat to flow out and to smooth out. But all the results you see, and you see it at the end, and you see it outside at the end, which is, let me look at my notes, end stuff is 2 days later. So the stuff outside you see at the end of the video is 2 days later, but nothing's been done to it. It's all off the gun. So the sort of finish I'm getting here, you're perfectly capable of getting a finish like that. Another thing you will see, or you will notice, is there's a real lack of overspray, and that's one of the things with all these small mini guns that will work at a lower pressure as well. You obviously cut down the amount of overspray. Now with fairing parts and things like this, there is quite a lot of wasted product, and that's because you need to do the sides. I get quite a few people message me on Instagram, normally always Instagram, and they'll send me pictures of things that they've done and say, what do you think went wrong? And a lot of it will be bike stuff, because bike stuff is quite tricky to do, because trying to actually hold the stuff in one way or another, whether you're laying it down like I am here or you're hanging it up, is quite difficult to do. Another reason why using a gun that doesn't take loads of pressure and is a mini gun, a good reason to use a mini gun for parts like this is the fact that it doesn't blow the item you're doing, so the fairing panel or whatever it is, it doesn't blow it around. If you've got it hanging, from your workshop roof or whatever, ceiling, if you've got too much pressure, it starts making it float around, and obviously it's not that easy to grab hold of something and hold it still. So definitely lower pressure guns are really good for more intricate things like this, I find. But as I was going back to saying, when people send me a picture through, often the sides of fairing panels and things like that are very, very peely. They've got a lot of orange peel, and that's simply because people don't pay enough attention to the sides. So you'll see me here, and I've seen a few videos of people actually, normally in Asia, people spraying with these various guns, and they do a lot of motorcycle parts, and they start off by doing the sides, and that's exactly what I do, because you need to get a reasonable amount on the sides and then concentrate on the outer part later on, because that's quite easy to do. That's effectively just like a flat sheet, more or less. But the side bits you need to pay a lot of attention to, otherwise you will get a lot of dry edges, and it's really difficult to sort out because you need to sand it back and do it all again, basically. So it's not necessarily you don't need to do the base coat again, but you need to do the clear coat again. So you're just wasting time, really. So pay a lot of attention to it, and you'll find that smaller guns like these that work at a lower pressure, because you're doing all of the sides, you get quite a lot of wasted product top and bottom. To give you an idea, these, I think 3 bits of fairing panel we did here, took about 350 millilitres of clear coat, and that's about a wing and a half of a car, or a good door and maybe a little bit more on a car. So that will give you an idea of how much you're actually using. So although they look like small components, you actually still spray quite a bit of material because some of it is lost. But it also means that you can get a lot of overspray. So having a gun like the Porphis here, means that it really does cut down on the overspray, which is absolutely ideal for these sort of parts and these sort of conditions. But I was really happy with this gun. The thread on the cup is actually 11mm by 1.5mm. Now, one of the things that is coming to light is that nobody makes a PPS adapter for this. So I did send an email the other day to Porphis. You know, I can only suggest things, but suggesting maybe that they were to make one, or get somebody to make one, and they could sell it, because I've had about literally 5, maybe 6 people inquire, asking me where they can get these adapters and what size threads they are. They are M11 by 1.5, which is the thread pitch, but I haven't found anybody to actually do them. I've been trying to find an adapter, an M11 adapter, to take it to a different thread that you could just pop on the top, and I'm having trouble finding that as well. Obviously an engineering workshop would be able to sort you one out, but it'd be quite pricey. So here you see it off the gun. Anyway, nothing's been done. This is literally just as it's just been finished. There's a couple of nibs there, just there where I'm pointing out there, which will have to be dealt with, but that's literally just, I use just literally 1500, then 3000 on a small little sponge, like sponge backing pad, and then I've got a little Milwaukee 12-volt rotary polisher that I just polish those out with. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't left us hardly anything to do, and that's the beauty of you know, using a quality gun, really. But as I say, this thing is about equivalent to about 95 GB pounds, and for that it's very well made. I'm not sure whether it's a collaboration between Porphis and Astro or Star, who make Taiwanese guns, but it's certainly a cracking little gun, and at the price it is, I'd have no doubt in recommending it. But it's a small, precise minigun. It's not going to do, you know, 3 sides of your car. It will do, but it will take absolutely ages. So definitely you know, a smart repair gun for smaller areas, as I say, equivalent to like the MPH338. Anyway guys, thanks for watching the videos as always. As I say, what you see here is exactly how it came off the gun. We haven't done anything to it at all. I haven't even polished it or done anything. Anyway, as I say, thanks for watching the videos as always, and you keep watching them, I'll keep them coming. And if you are enjoying the videos, maybe thinking about give us a thumbs up and a subscription. Just helps push us up the YouTube rankings. Cheers guys, bye bye.